Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai, Barak the Yahweh, Barak the Yahushai. All praise unto Yahweh, Shem Yahushai, Waharak HaKadosh. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. Honor to you brothers that be pushing this truth and sincerity throughout the four corners of the earth. So this is going to be a video going into showing you pretty much when you go into the scriptures, the Bible doesn't deal with the thing that people call today the human race, but rather the scriptures deal with an anointed people of the Lord and many other different nations within the world, of which at the bottom end of that, with Jacob, the Israelites, the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans being at the top, at the bottom end of that, you got it to where you got the sons of the wicked, which are also known as the Edomites, which are the people that rule the world today. Okay, the scripture says within the book of Job, the 9th chapter on the 24th verse, that the earth is given into the hands of the wicked, and he covereth the faces of the judges thereof. The scripture says that the Israelites were going to be kings and priests, okay, to judge, okay, all matters. Okay, the spiritual man judges all things. Or the bidding, the partakers of the spirit, the people that was going to get into the spirit, are the Israelites. And in so being the Israelites, you got it to where the images of them, when they was the image that was the heritage of them has been covered up and it's been taken away. In fact, when you go and expound upon that principle, you got this scripture here within the book of Revelations, the 2nd chapter, okay, and the 9th verse. Okay, I know thy works and thy tribulation and thy poverty, thou art rich. And I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. Now, ultimately, this is dealing with, actual Jews, okay, that were calling themselves the true worshippers, but they're not actually worshiping the Most High. But the scripture could be loosely applied to the Amalekites, which are in the land of Israel right now, which call themselves the Israelites. Okay, but when you go, into the scriptures, you find out that the Israelites, okay, the real Israelites lost their heritage, and in losing their heritage, that heritage was taken on by another imposter, if you will. So this is Jeremiah 17:4. It says, "Thou, even thyself, shalt discontinue from thine heritage that I gave thee, and I cause thee to serve thine enemy in a land which which thou knowest not, for ye have kindled a fire in mine heart, which shall burn forever." So that's what happened to the Negroes, Hispanics, Native Americans. They served their enemy in America, okay? But really, this is the people of whom the Most High said the world was going to be ruled over, okay? And we lost our heritage because that's part of the curses that came upon us. Now, when we go into the scriptures, okay, into the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, you're going to find out that there are different nations that the Most High created, okay? These different nations, okay, were supposed to be kept different, okay? Or when you had it to where an event, okay, where people gathered together and wickedness abounded, like how you got it to where America is, and the carrying cast, and I'm going to get that scripture, the carrying cast over all of the people, where people would identify themselves as a country as opposed to the nation they're from. The Most High split it up. Okay, the Tower of Babel is a good example. Okay, the Most High split it up. So you got the same thing happening right now in America and all throughout the world, where people are living off their heritage. Even them Arabs, which know they're Ishmaelites, when they come out here to these different unis, they don't behave like Arabs. Okay, they put away all of that Arab customs, those so-called Muslim customs, and they behave just like who? Their daddy, the so-called white man, because that's who rules the world right now. Okay, so they put that off. Okay, and they acclimatized to the world that's around them. They put off their heritage. Okay, now how much more so these other different nations was with these loose sort of cultures. And I say loose because really they lost their culture. Okay, when you see these people going into work, they got the business suit and so on and so forth. Okay, these people are all mixed into one, and the Most High never had it so. Okay, the book of Genesis, 10th chapter on the 1st verse, and says, "These are the generations of the sons of Noah, Ham, and Japheth." Okay, unto them were born sons after the flood, the sons of Japheth, Magog, and it goes into it. It separates them. Okay, and also separates, and you got Ham's the father of the Cushites, the people that are living out there within Africa, but not the Israelites that are scattered within Africa, but rather some of the people like the Sudanese. A vast majority of them are Hamites. Okay, a vast majority of them South Africans are Hamites. Although you got Jake mingled up in there. Okay, and then when you read down to the bottom, you find out that there was a tower builded. Okay, and guess what? The Most High confounded all the languages thereof. Okay, but when you read these scriptures, this particular chapter, you find out that the Most High basically had particular, progenitors, okay, fathers, okay, of whom particular promises was given, and Israel had the greatest portion. Okay, let's go to the book of Deuteronomy, the 7th chapter and the 6th verse. So you got all of these nations within the world that they call themselves human being as though they're one. The Most High didn't set it up like that. That's why you go to the book of Genesis, the 10th chapter, he separated them. Okay, Deuteronomy 7 and 6, it says, "For thou art an holy people unto the Lord." This ain't talking about everybody. This is talking about the Israelites. When you read up, this is talking about Jacob. Okay, Jacob. "For thou art a holy people unto the Lord thy power, and the Lord thy power hath chosen me to be a special people unto himself above all people upon the face of the earth." So we're special unto the Lord. Okay, so he, the thing of the human race, that's not a biblical idea. Okay, now let's go into the book of Isaiah. The book of Isaiah, I believe it's in the 60th verse I'm looking for. No, it's in the 25th verse. Is it in the 25th verse? Yeah, 25th verse. Isaiah 25 and 7. "Now destroy in this mountain, which is America, the government, the face of the covering cast over all people, and the veil that is spread over all nations." Okay, so you got this veil of human covering all of these different nations to the end up everybody just thinks that they're all equal and everything is, but that's not biblical. All right, let me finish up with within this precept here, within the book of Isaiah, and this is I think it's in like the 40th chapter. I'll search it out if I don't find it within the 40th chapter. So Isaiah 40. Okay, Isaiah 40. Maybe like the 15th verse. Okay, here we go. Isaiah 40 and 15, and it says, "Behold, the nations," okay, everyone other than Jacob, the nations are as a drop of a bucket, and they're counted as a small dust of the balance. Behold, he taketh the isles as a very little thing. Okay, so these are the nations, man. And they're insignificant unto the Most High, and the Most High, sees them as the drop of a bucket. But for Jacob, they're on another level. Okay, they're special unto the Most High. In fact, let's finish up within the book of Zechariah, the 2nd chapter and the 8th verse. Zechariah 2 and 8 says, "For thus saith the Lord of hosts, after the glory hath he sent me unto the nations which spoiled you," which is these other nations. "He that toucheth you toucheth the apple of his eye." Okay, so when the Lord comes, he's going to separate the nations, and he's going to separate the Israelites. Okay, in fact, one more precept. Okay, he's going to separate the Israelites that are scattered throughout the four corners of the earth, and he's also going to separate these other nations, like the scripture says within the book of Isaiah 25. Okay, taking away the covering cast over all people. Amos 9 and 9 says, "For lo, I will command and I'll sift the house of Israel from among all nations, like corn is sifted in the sieve. It shall not the least grain fall upon the earth." So with that, I'm going to say, all praise unto Yahweh, Shemi Ashai, Rakar Kadash. Double honors unto the apostles of Great Millstone. As your brothers will be pushing this truth in sincerity. Shalom.